Have you ever read the story of the three little pigs? I love that story about how the big bad wolf comes and huffs and puffs and blows the house down. Did you know there's a lot of different versions of that story? Today I'm going to read a version of that story that's a little bit silly. It's called The Three Little Pigs. Now this story is called a legend or a fairy tale. It's been around for a long time. Nobody really knows who wrote the original story, but here, where usually they tell us who the author is, it says retold by John Duncan. He didn't write the story, but he wrote this version of the story. It's illustrated by Wes Ware. Oh, skipped a page. Once there were three little pigs. They set out into the great big forest to look for a nice spot to build homes. The first little pig gathered up straw to build his house. Swish, swash, swish. The second little pig gathered up sticks to build his house. Plickety, plackety, plick. The third little pig gathered up bricks to build his house. Cloppity, cloppity, clop. The first two pigs finished their house in no time. They said to the third pig, "You're working too hard. Why don't you come play?" And he kept right on building. Clink, clonk, plop, swack. Finally, he was all finished. He relaxed by a warm fire in his safe and strong house. So far, this seems like the Three Little Pigs story that I know, that I usually hear. How about you? I wonder if it's going to get different. One day, a big bad wolf came to the straw house of the first little pig. He could smell a kettle of soup, and it made him very hungry. He said, little pig, let me in." But the first little pig replied, "Not by the hair on my chinny chin chin." So the wolf said, "Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in." With a swoosh and a whoosh, the straw house blew away. The first little pig jumped up and ran all the way to the second pig's house. The next day, the big bad wolf came to the house of the second little pig. He could smell a fresh loaf of bread baking in the oven. He said, little pig, let me in." "Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin," cried the second pig. So the wolf said, "Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in." With a gust of air and a crack and a crash, the stick house fell to the ground. Both pigs jumped up and ran all the way to the third pig's house. It's a good thing they had an escape plan, isn't it? The wolf blew down their house, and they knew how to escape, and they had a meeting place. They met at the third pig's house. It's pretty smart, huh? You don't need an escape plan just for fire safety. It's probably a good idea to have a safe place to meet your family in case of an emergency, even if it's someplace that's like your neighbor's house or across the street, just like you would for fire safety. When the third little pig heard about the wolf, he was glad his brothers were safe. He said, "You must be hungry and tired. Sit down and have some pie." You see the pie there in the window? What do you think's gonna happen? You think the big bad wolf's gonna smell that pie in the window? I think so too. Looky here. The big bad wolf came to the third pig's house. He smelled the pie. Little pig, let me in." "Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin," cried the third little pig. So the wolf said, "Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in." He huffed and puffed and blew with all his might, but the brick house wouldn't fall down. So he gruffed and snuffed and blew again, but the brick house just wouldn't fall. So far this story sounds a lot like the first version that I know of the Three Little Pigs. But here's where it's about to get different. The wolf had never had this happen before. He sat down on an old log and began to cry. Why do you think he's crying? Do you think he's sad? Or maybe frustrated? Or maybe angry? Sometimes I cry when I'm frustrated and angry. How about you? The third little pig said, There, Mr. Wolf. You don't have to be so sad. You have a remarkable talent. You can use your talent for better things than blowing down houses." I wonder what he could use his talent for. What do you think he could use all that blowing power he has? Maybe he could be a hot air balloon guy and blow up hot air balloons, or blow up balloons for birthday parties. Or maybe he could be a firefighter. You think firefighters use their blowing power to put out the fire? Let's find out. I have an idea, said the third little pig. Listen. Outside of the woods, they heard the sounds of children laughing and playing. It was the local fair, and everybody was going. What might they have at the fair that the wolf could blow? Look at that. The three little pigs and the big bad wolf and the big sad wolf all went down to the fair. Here's a wonderful way to use your talent, said the third little pig. With a huff and a puff, the wolf started blowing up colorful balloons. What a great way to use his talent. Balloons make people happy, don't they? It's much nicer than blowing down someone's house. Look at all those balloons he's blowing up. All the children came to see the fun sizes and shapes. The wolf was happy and amazed to have so many new friends. He wasn't bad or sad anymore. He was the big glad wolf. The first little pig sold straw baskets, and the second little pig played the fiddle, and the third little pig sat peacefully under the shade of an oak tree, smiling. The end. Look at that clever way they ended the story. Wasn't it nice that the wolf found a way to use his talent of huffing and puffing and blowing to do something good instead of being a bully and blowing down everyone's house? I love that version of the story. I hope you enjoyed it too.